So now I had the medical field that I was in, which wasn't my passion, but I did it because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. And I was married, again, not my passion, but something that I thought I was supposed to do. And I realized this is not the life that I want to live. I finally made the decision, hey, if I'm strong enough to walk away from an abusive marriage, I am strong enough to make the decision to follow my heart and to follow my passion. Everyone keeps telling me that going into medicine is the best way to help people, but that's not the case. Something that actually is really needed and not really focused on as much is food. And people always need food. It doesn't matter if you've got $1 million or if you have no money at all. Everyone needs food, right? I was catering on the side, and I was helping people who had different allergies and different food restrictions. I was cooking for them as is. So I was like, you know what? I want to do this full time. I am very, very particular about how my kitchen is set up. So I will prefer to cook in my kitchen versus someone else's because of the fact that I know what's going on here. I know what's been here, what will be here, all of that, right? The cleanliness is in my hands. I think the combination of my cancer past and my kids, I think those two really, really dictate what I put into my body. So I will consider every person that I cook for an extension of me. What I wanted to do was introduce Indian food to Mexican people and Mexican food to Indian people, or to different cultures. And how do I do that is by fusing them together. One of my top selling products are paneer enchiladas. I like to kind of almost inspect my favorite dishes and realize my favorite components of those dishes. And then when I create a new dish, I use all of my favorite elements from the different places and try to put them together. I love to see how other chefs cook. I love to see their creativity and their flair. I say, I want a dosa now. I can't soak it and then have it tomorrow. So don't turn to medicine for everything, right? There's different ways of getting nutrition that are outside of that. So when your mind is shut, your heart is shut.
Welcome to today's episode, where we are stirring up some fun with Sanketa Chef, New Jersey's very own chef, affectionately known as Chef Sank. Sanketa has carved a niche for herself by blending traditional flavors with modern culinary techniques, creating unique dining experiences from the magical place called kitchen. She is a mom of two, a brave cancer survivor, and a local celebrity chef who spiced up the Middlesex County cultural space. She's also turned up the heat by being a consulting chef and production designer in a cooking competition with the grocery giant ShopRite. So tie up your apron and get ready for a delicious journey full of emotion, insights, and handy kitchen tips. Let's welcome Sanketa Chef. Make sure you stay tuned until the end and don't forget to subscribe. Welcome, Sank, to WhatsApp Pro. To start with, tell us about yourself, about your journey.
So my journey is somewhat long and interesting and all over the place, but from the start, I was actually born here in the U.S. And when I was young, I was very sporty. And my brother was more like the book guy. And so I played all the sports and I played varsity through my high school years. And one day while I was playing volleyball, I actually started having some arm pain. And so the next day, my mom knows that I never complain about pain. So she, the next day, took me to the doctor, which was my dad. And my dad actually wanted to just check like the basics. And he's like, oh, maybe she has a break or something, did an x-ray. And he, through the x-ray, thought that my heart was enlarged. So immediately sent me for a CT scan. And that is how we learned that I actually had a large tumor between my heart and my lung, the size of a grapefruit. So it was just before my 16th birthday. I was actually in the middle of practicing for my Arangetram at the time. And most friends are getting ready to figure out a sweet 16. And I was trying to find a surgeon who could do my surgery. I had the body of an adult at that point, right? But I'm still under 18. So we had to find a surgeon who was willing to do the surgery on me. And when they did the surgery, they learned that it was actually cancer.
Oh,
So I ended up having chemo for 6 months, and that is, I like to say, one of the best things that's ever happened to me. And you'll often hear me say this about cancer, but it taught me a lot at a very young age, which I'm very, very grateful for. Many people end up not realizing what their life should be and what to really prioritize in life. But I got to kind of learn that at a young age, and I'm very grateful for that. So I stopped saying no to things and started saying yes to everything. So I went skydiving, I went scuba diving, I did all kinds of fun stuff after that because I had always wanted to, and I was always fearful of that. Um, and after that, I became an EMT. I wanted to give back in the field that I thought, and I don't just say me, I feel like a lot of parents put a lot of pressure on us to do the top Indian items, which would be become a doctor, become an engineer, or somewhere in those fields, right? Go into IT, right? Those are the top three that you hear about all the time. So similarly, I was like, okay, I started pre-med, and I thought that was the direction I was going to go. Until I realized I get really attached to patients. And so that was not the field for me. I would start crying before the patient would start crying. So that wasn't really meant for what I should be doing. But nonetheless, I wanted to be in the medical field because that's what I thought was the best way to help anyone. So I spent the next 20 years or almost 20 years in the medical field. Throughout that journey, I had some ups and downs in the personal situations where I got married to someone who I thought would be, who I should be married to on paper. And I hate saying it that way, but it's the truth, right? It was someone that I thought my parents would be happy with, someone that I knew. And unfortunately, soon after getting married, it went the worst direction possible. He became abusive. He started drinking a lot. And as strong as I was for every other thing, I completely understand when people end up staying in relationships when they shouldn't be, or being fearful of where their life is going in their marriage. And that's what I did. So now I had the medical field that I was in, which wasn't my passion, but I did it because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. And I was married, again, not my passion, but something that I thought I was supposed to do. And I wasn't happy, right? I was trying to make the most of my life. And the promise that I made to myself after I finished chemo was to make a difference in the world. And I thought I was, and I realized this is not the life that I want to live. So on my parents' 50th anniversary, I made a decision to myself that I am not going to continue on the path that my mom did, which was stay in a relationship she was not happy with. I love my parents individually, but as we all know, our parents many times are together because it was arranged, and that's what they're supposed to do. So I made that decision, but unfortunately at the time, my ex-husband was not willing to let go. And then I forcefully had to make sure that happened. So I finally made the decision, hey, if I'm strong enough to walk away from an abusive marriage, I am strong enough to make the decision to follow my heart and to follow my passion. And so something I was doing on the side anyways, because I've always loved to cook, I was catering on the side. And I was helping people who had different allergies and different food restrictions. I was cooking for them as is. So I was like, you know what? I want to do this full time. And of course, just like anything else, that didn't go over well with a lot of people. But it's my life, and all of us get one life, right? Here, at least. So I wanted to make sure that I finally made decisions, not based off what other people said, not based off what other people wanted, but for the first time, based off what I wanted. And I also had realized this actually happened at the start of COVID. I realized, I'm like, you know what? Everyone keeps telling me that going into medicine is the best way to help people, but that's not the case, because through all of my travels, all of my journeys around the world, something that actually is really needed and not really focused on as much is food. And people always need food. It doesn't matter if you've got $1 million or if you have no money at all. Everyone needs food, right? And that's when I realized that what would make me happy outside of anyone else is to give back in that platform. So during COVID, my amazing current husband and I, we actually would buy groceries every week on our own. And we started making these bags of groceries. So if I bought like a case of tomatoes, I would divvy them up and put them into smaller bags, and we'd make these small parcels, and we would go and drop them to people's homes. And then I had met some amazing people. I met someone from Kean University named Dr. Norma Bowe, and she was like, hey, let's do this together, where I have college students who would love to deliver this stuff and they'd love to volunteer. So I started bringing it to her house. We started making all these parcels, and we were feeding a few hundred families. And at the time, the government was not able to keep up, right? And the other thing that people always forget about COVID is, yes, it was an atrocious time in many ways, but the people who got COVID were the ones who were actually still going to work. And those people end up having people in their house, their wives or spouses, who've never worked before. Okay. So now they had no means of getting money, right? And many times they were not citizens. They did not have the same benefits that a lot of other people have, right? So what about them? They have kids. Their kids are now home, right? Because schools are closed. Who's going to feed them, right? So it was actually, like, I get goosebumps thinking about it. It was actually during that time that I like had this epiphany, because one of the families that I had dropped off produce to, and again, thinking not much of it, like, okay, every family gets some, they sent me this message saying, thank you so much for giving me ginger. It's in the cooking that, we do, but when you go to shelters and stuff, they give you boxed mac and cheese, or they give you, pasta and sauce or something. I haven't been able to cook at home. And so thank you. And it was such a small thing. And you're just like, wow, like giving someone ginger, like is, so that really encouraged me to want to do more into this, into that line of work. So fortunately for me, I had an amazing person come up to me from Middlesex County, asked me if I wanted to do this on a bigger picture. And so we started to do something called Share Your Foodways, where we made these meal kits, and everything for that meal is in that kit. Okay. So you have the recipe card. There's a video of someone creating it, a local chef through Middlesex County. And I would buy all the ingredients and put all the ingredients you need to make that meal. And it could be anything. It can be like a dal, or it can be, whatever the case may be. And all the ingredients are in the bag. So they get to take that and make everything in it. So we started, taking this to a different level and kind of being more inclusive to all the different backgrounds, right? We have so many different walks of life, especially here in New Jersey, right? So it was a great way of doing that. And the other part I was doing, which I was still doing at the time, was doing my work as a private chef and catering. And the part that drives me is that so many people are scared to eat out. They don't want to risk their allergies. Like, let's say someone has a nut allergy. They don't want to go to a Chinese restaurant, right? Because they're like, oh, there could be cross-contamination. And they didn't have Chinese food for years because of the fact that they were too scared. So that's my client base, right? Those are the people that used to contact me. And so I got to make people dishes that they weren't able to have, because I would strictly make sure that we didn't have cross-contamination. So that kind of brings me up to my journey now. And I like to say my life is in three pieces, like the beginning, middle, and end. And I hope that this is the start of the end for me, because I have two beautiful kids now. I have an amazing husband, and now I get to appreciate life and hopefully keep the promise that I had made to myself after chemo, and one, make a difference, and two, protect my peace and know what's important to me, and know that I need to really focus on the most important things in life at this stage, So that is my journey. I know lots of different angles there, but that is my journey to get me to where I am.
Yeah, wow, that's quite a journey. I got goosebumps listening to it. But before we talk about your profession, I want to go back to your cancer. When you say cancer taught you a lot, what are the teachings that you got from cancer?
So, I have to say that, at that age, right? If you think about back when you were 16, what are the most important things to you, right? Like, you've got your family, you have your friends, right? You have your school life essentially, because you spend more time at school than at home, right? And so I always thought that like the people that I was the closest to at the time, and I've been very candid about this, the people that I considered my best friends. And then there was other people that I wasn't as close to, but I knew them, right? They were like good friends or acquaintances or family friends or whatever it is, but not people that I consider like my best friends, right? And the complete opposite effect happened. People who I was close to never came to visit me. They never, I think they were too scared of their own reaction that they didn't come visit me. And then these people who honestly, I never thought that they'd come visit me were there all the time. And I have friends that I grew up with who I love them to death. And I would speak to them like regularly, right? We're close friends, but they were there all the time. And like the first meal I had after I had surgery was from a friend of mine like that. And the second part was my family. It's like you always think, oh, my mom's great, my dad's, great, my brother, whatever. But I had my mom sleep in the hospital on a chair next to me for 6 months during chemo. She would bathe in the hospital, right, using one of these patient bathrooms. Like it was amazing. Like I couldn't believe that she was doing this, and my brother was actually out of med school. He was starting his residency and he was there every day. And I mean, I feel bad for him because I wanted his opinion on everything, right? So I was like, wait, we can't start this procedure until my brother's here. And they actually had to like retime things just to make sure my brother was there. But he was willing to quit residency to be there for me. And I wouldn't let him. I mean, it makes me cry to think about, but like the fact that he put so much time and effort in, I wouldn't let him do it. But, those are the things that really define like what was important to me. And it made me reevaluate, And second to that, all those things that people take for granted, right? There was a few kids that had similar diagnosis as me. And the weird thing about my diagnosis was it was a non-Hodgkin's large B-cell lymphoma. And the strange thing is most times little kids get it or older people get it. And I was not in either category yet, right? So even the doctors were like, wait, what do we do here? So there was an experimental chemo that I got done. Mm-hmm. And there were 2 other kids that were doing the same thing. And neither of them survived. Wow. So, sorry. Yeah. It makes you wonder, right? Like you have like almost survivor's guilt, right? Yeah. I survived and they didn't, right? So one, it makes you appreciate life altogether and how vulnerable it is and how anything, I mean, I was so active. I was so fit. I was playing every sport, doing different dances. I was doing Bharatanatyam. I was doing all kinds of things. And I got this, right? It could have been an external source because there's nothing genetic in our family background at all. This is not even a genetic type of cancer. So it's not one that I can pass down to my kids. But why me, right? So it's something that, even through the years, I have a difficult time with when we've lost family friends to cancer. Mm-hmm. I spend that day thinking, why did they not make it? But I did, right? So I learned a lot in terms of appreciation for others, appreciation for being here, right? And so I think that all has definitely impacted who I've become. And all the little things that people used to care about, like, oh, your hair needs to look a certain way. I lost all my hair. So, I never had that same mentality, right? All of it didn't grow back. My eyelashes, I'm very big about mascara because all of my eyelashes didn't come back. I have bald spots in my eyebrows, so I pencil it in. All these things that people think is like everything, right? Like what you look like, all of that doesn't matter, right? What's in your heart shines above all. So that is something that I will strongly, tell my kids every day. And I tell my daughter, who's now 3, every single day, I'm like, what are the 2 most important things? So she'll tell you to be nice and to be humble. So,
yeah. Wow.
If I can share my story about cancer with other people, I want people to know, to have hope and to have faith. Yeah. Because what I can say is it's hard to go through cancer. Fine. Yes, I will give you that. But what's even harder is to be the family and the friends that are around the person going through cancer. Mm-hmm. So I can't imagine what my mom dealt with, because if my daughter was in that, I don't think I'd be able to manage as strongly as my mom has. So I give my mom so much credit, but all these family friends that I see, I know I go to visit the patient themselves, right? But I'm more concerned about the family around them, because that's the hardest part, is to watch someone that you love go through something so difficult, right?
So, coming back to your profession, let's get into your profession now. When you say you're a private chef, what does that mean? Like, what exactly do you do?
So there's a few things with my being a private chef. Now, I had started this prior to COVID. So keeping all of that into consideration, I did go to people's homes to cook a lot. This happens for many reasons. You can have, first of all, I specialize in fusion. Okay. So, yes, I can make straight Indian or whatever it is, but I prefer fusion because I love bringing cultures together. Saying that, when you have, let's say, parents in town, right, and you're not used to cooking certain things, or you have mixed relationships, right, and you want to create something for your in-laws that you may not be used to making, that's one of the first reasons that I actually started doing this. And then the allergies, right? Because this is something that now you have your kitchen and you want to make sure that something's not cross contaminated, right? So I get to come into your sanctuary where you already know that you don't have, let's say, peanuts in the house or any of that. And I cook there. Okay. Then COVID hit. Mm-hmm. That kind of changed everything. So now, based off my history, I also have to be very mindful of my immune system, and I'm a little immunocompromised due to my past, right? So I had to start recreating things, and that whole setup, right? So I had to take my whole business model and change it. So now I started cooking at home and then delivering to people's homes. And so I would do a whole, from top to bottom, clean down of my house. I'd have a list of how I'm going to prepare things, using which allergens first, right? So let's say someone has a severe allergy to something, that needs to go first, right? Of course, I do veg, non-veg, all of that. I prefer to do vegan first, then veg, then meat. And then I was doing a delivery of that. If I have larger orders, I was renting out kitchen space. I can either use someone who's local here, or there was a few people that I was working with at the time. So there's different angles to go on that, but I have to say, I am the opposite of most people. I am very, very particular about how my kitchen is set up. So I will prefer to cook in my kitchen versus someone else's, because of the fact that I know what's going on here. I know what's been here, what will be here, all of that, right? The cleanliness is in my hands. Now, if you choose to go into this path and you decide you want to be part of a ghost kitchen, right? And what a ghost kitchen is shared space where many people are utilizing that. There's a great ghost kitchen actually that's in Perth Amboy. Very, very kind owner, and that is one way if that's the direction you want to go. But what you need to make sure of is to re-clean your space, even if someone else did it, right? Because now if you have shared space, one, most of these places allow other people to be there at the same time as you. So now, if you have peanut dust because of something they're making over there, they're making, I don't know, peanut butter or something, right? And they're grinding something, that can be put into the air. So you have to be mindful of all of those things, right? So the way that I'm working as a private chef is a little different than what most people want, because I'm very, very strict about it. Now, my medical past and working, as someone who's been through what I've been through, as well as setting up medical offices, I'm very strict about cross-contamination. So that is something that I would say is something that you need to be mindful of, but that is the key element of me being a private chef. So I like to say that more than just saying caterer, because it's not just doing mass catering, right? That's I will guide you easily to many restaurants that do wonderful jobs to do, catering. But if you want something boutique, come to me, come to other private chefs, because we will customize it the way that you want and what the client would want.
Wow, nice. Yeah. So I'm asking from a perspective of new like aspiring chefs who want to start up their passion, take up to the next level to start a business, that take up their passion into business. Where do they start? Like, how do they start? Like, I understand you started during COVID, but now,
Well, so there's a few questions that I actually have for you. When you say they want to take their passion to next level, have they cooked before, like in a any type of professional setting, or no?
like if someone like they're passionate about cooking and they want to take it, convert that passion into business, so how would they do it?
Okay, so I would still advise taking some courses. I think it's important to, even if they're online courses. I've actually taken classes internationally, so everywhere from Italy to Thailand to in between. I mean, or locally as well, right? But there's a lot of different courses that are available to you. But the reason that I say to take these courses is technique does matter. It will change how quickly or how slowly you cut things, and also hygiene, right? So there's a safe serve course that I suggest to every single person to take. Okay, it is something that you need to very very much be mindful to, especially nowadays with all the different allergies that are there, but just hygiene, right? So how often are you washing your hands? Are you washing your hands every 15 minutes? People talk about gloves. Yes, gloves are important if you're out, but when you're actually cooking, most chefs just need to make sure you're washing your hands, you're keeping your nails tidy. I mean, I'd love to have long, flashy nails, but I don't, right? As you can see, because you need to be mindful of those things, right? All the bacteria that are there. That's why these courses are also very important, right? So that would be step one for me, is to make sure that you take some type of course on the hygiene. Definitely take a safe serve course. Take some courses on different cooking techniques, right? There's different ways of cooking, there's different styles of cooking. Learn about cookware, okay? What people think is a great cookware that, my ba used to use isn't really what we want to use nowadays, because we know that there's heavy metals that are released, there's different carcinogens that are released, all of that stuff. So these are different things that I would definitely learn about. And what state you're in. If you're in New Jersey, right? You're not supposed to technically be cooking at home, but there's different ways around it now. But have insurance. Okay. I have an excess of insurance because I also do demos on site. I also go to different events, all that. So I have a whole bunch of different insurances. Yes, that's money. It's completely worth it, right? Because God forbid something happens to somebody, you don't want that to be on you, right? You want to make sure that you have assistance through your insurance. It's covered somehow. And it also will make that client feel more comfortable, right? It's like showing them, look, I care enough to make sure that I have insurance. But I would say those are your first three things to start with, to just make that transition from your passion to a business, right?
How did you find your first client?
So as I said, I was doing this kind of just for kicks for years for my friends. So I guess through a friend, somebody actually had asked me to cater their wedding, and I almost laughed at them. I'm like, "You're what? No, I'm sorry." And they're like, "Oh yeah, please." I'm like, "I can't cater your wedding. Like I not ever done that before. And so they're like, "Okay, at least do part of it." So I had done like some trays, and that's kind of how it started. And then it was word of mouth for me, because that's the type of clientele that I want. Everyone's looking for something different, right? So let me give you an example. If you are, I know there's someone that makes momos, right? So if that's what you want to do, let's say you're making dumplings, whatever the case may be, and that's what you specialize in, there are different ways that you can market it, right? So one, samples are the way to go to start with, and say, hey, try this. What do you think? Get some input. Right? Ask people, how do you like this? How does it go? How did it go from one place to the other? When I gave it to you, was it a mess? Did it stay together? How was it packaged? Right? All of that. Get feedback. And then if they like it, they will start sharing themselves. And you start small. The reason that you start small is because you have a lot of tweaking to do. Okay. Nothing is going to be perfect the first time you do it, no matter what you do. Right. But practice makes perfect. And this is what you want to do. I know we all know how to make our favorite dish, right? At home. We all know this is what I love. This is what I know how to make. Now, multiply that by 5. Now you have to make a much larger portion. Do you know how to do that?
Yeah.
If you do know how to do that, do you know how you're going to transport that? Now, if somebody asked you of every ingredient that's in it, would you know what to say? If you had to make a recipe card. Now, this is at this stage, for how many years I've done this is the hardest part for me, is making a recipe card, because I do what my mom does. Turuk with that, or whatever, right? And that's what you're thinking in your head is, oh, half a jumji. Well, what's a jumji, right? Like what measurement is that, right? So like we have to kind of think, what is your end goal? Is your end goal? My end goal in life is to be able to teach. Okay, I want to teach people how to cook, and I want to, of course, uh, do like that really niche market of people who have the different allergies. Those are like my goals and my demos. My demos are my heart. Okay, I do demos through Middlesex County for all these different people, and I get to teach people through that avenue how to cook. Right now, what is your end goal? Do you want to make a larger scale business? Do you want to take this, start it locally, and then you want to make it into a big company? Do you want to take your recipe and get, I don't know, Cheesecake Factory to buy it from you? Or, I mean, whatever. Do you want to turn it into a frozen food? Right. So what you need to do is consider what your end goal is. And then there are plenty of people, including myself, who can help guide you. I consult for people because just like you asked, people have no idea how to start and they don't really know where to go. But we are very lucky at this day and age because we have so many resources that are available to us. I don't want to necessarily share this particular product that I want to make, but I hope to make it soon. If you have a product that you want to make, a jarred product, something like that, there are actually facilities here that will test the product out, right? They will test to see the shelf life. They will test to see batch, right? How you can make it in a larger batch. They will test things to see how it will stay in the bottle. So if I use a plastic bottle, how long would it last? If I use a glass bottle, how long would it last? How much light comes through it? All these small things are all part of, again, what's your end goal? So I think that's kind of what you need to sit down and kind of figure out.
Yeah, we are getting to learn so many things. Like I never knew about Ghost Kitchen or this facility where you can test the jar things.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing all this with us. So, I would like to know more about your life as a private chef. How does your day look like?
This is the best part of what I do is it's very flexible. It's up to you how you want to create your day. There are private chefs that do things, again, what your end goal is, right? So everything is going to be different. But based on how I do it, why I set it up this way is because after years of trying to conceive and not being able to, my daughter, I like to share, is an IVF baby. And I like to share this because I thought after chemo, I wasn't going to be able to have kids. So I automatically thought, okay, after having a difficult time with my ex-husband, now learning it was based off stress, that I need to get IVF done. And then after, when she was 4 or 5 months old, I naturally was able to have my son, which they told me I had less than an 11% chance of ever being able to conceive. And then at that point, it was even less because of the fact that I had 2 more surgeries in between them. Wow. So when my kids were born, I wanted to do something which was almost unheard of when we were young, and that was to be there for my kids. So with how much the expenses have increased, right, over the years, it's very difficult for you to have a stay-at-home mom, right, or a stay-at-home dad. But I wanted to have the flexibility and honestly the strength. I don't want to rely on anyone. And I can come back to this later, but I can't emphasize this enough. Have something for yourself so you're never falling back on anyone. So the way that I've set up what I do is I can wake up every single morning, get my kids ready, drop them off, right? Get to pack their lunch. I get to spend some time with them. And then if I have catering or delivery, that's when I can go to the grocery store that day, pick up what I need, come home, make things the next few hours. And I'm lucky enough to have a daycare that will allow them to be there until 5:36. My husband starts his shift early. He starts at 5 a.m. and he ends his shift at 1. So if necessary, he can go get the kids for me. If I have any events, I do have to ask for external help every so often. I don't have a nanny. I don't have a full-time babysitter by choice because I want to spend every waking moment with them that I possibly can. I love my parents, but my parents are older now, right? My mom is almost 80 now. And my dad is about 85. So it's not something that I can have my parents, watch the kids. And my kids are at that age that it's pretty difficult as is, but my day is circled and revolving around my kids. And all of this is when I have time and however I can. So one of the reasons that I love doing the cooking demos is because I can schedule that in advance. well in advance. And so I can plan around that as to, if I needed to have my husband help me drop them off or if I need some other childcare. But my day is based off that. And any of the prep or anything that I have to do in the house, I plan accordingly. And I ask my clients to give me almost a week in advance notice for deliveries. Everyone doesn't have to do that. And yes, people can, want to get every single dollar possible. For me, the way that you want to have quality food, I am all about quality ingredients and quality clients. I need my clients to be able to work around me. And in return, I promise you, you will get my heart and soul in the food. And so,
Right. Yeah, we can see that. Yeah. So, how do you describe your unique cooking style? So, being a mother, does that impact your cooking style?
it does. I think the combination of my cancer pass and my kids, I think those two really, really dictate what I put into my body. So I will consider every person that I cook for an extension of me, being my family, being, however, because I want them to have the best ingredients they possibly can have. I have to tell you, with my ex-husband, I had a wholesale produce company. I also had a paneer company and a yogurt company. And with the years that we had this, I learned some things that are still mind-boggling to me. We used to get different levels of produce, right? You have the possible best that you can have, and then you have like a second tier, and you have one that's like a lower quality, or if something didn't sell, whatever the case may be. Many of the best restaurants that you will find around ask for that lower quality produce.
Mm.
I, of course, will never say names, but I can tell you I learned so much from that. And honestly, it's heartbreaking. When we make chutney, this is a very small example, but when we make chutney, right, you take the kothmir, the cilantro, right, you cut it. The way that I do is I cut it and then I put it in a big vat of water, cold water, right? I, give it a little shake, let all of the heavy sediment fall to the bottom. And then I take that out, put it to the side, dump all the water, all the sand, wash that, again, fill it up with cold water and put it back and do a second rinse, minimally. Okay. That's based on good cilantro. Okay. If it's poor, very, very marty filled, very sandy, right? I'll do it several times. I saw firsthand that they would take straight cilantro and put it directly in a blender. No wash, nothing. And I'm not talking about the worst restaurants. I'm talking about some of the best restaurants. So I have to say my cooking technique is based off what I want in my body and what I want for my kids and how I would do it for them. I can't emphasize that enough, but I feel like quality is what I'm looking for. If price is another, again, you have to figure out what you're looking for and what you're trying to get. If you go to the grocery store, right? If you're trying to get the cheapest item, no, there's a very big distinction versus getting the cheapest and getting the best. If you get kaju katri, okay, kaju katli, depending on where you're from, look at the ingredients. What should be in that? The name should say it all. It should be cashews. But if you look at the cheaper ones, it says cashews and peanuts. Peanuts are cheaper than cashews, right? So if you see people mixing ingredients, know that yes, you got a cheaper product, but you got the cheaper product, right? So these are things that you need to kind of keep in mind. So my cooking style is the way that I want for my children and what I want for our future children. So I think that is really the cooking style in terms of level of care. In terms of what I create, I specialize in fusion. Fusion is something that means a lot to me for so many reasons. And I remember people hearing Indian food and being scared, or hearing Mexican food and being scared. So what I wanted to do was introduce Indian food to Mexican people and Mexican food to Indian people, or, to different cultures. And how do I do that is by fusing them together. One of my top selling products are paneer enchiladas. Okay. So paneer enchiladas mean so much to me because I have so many people say, what's a paneer? You have cheese enchiladas, which you've had before. Now you have a slight difference in texture and flavor because I add, certain ingredients that you may not have had, but it's a way for you to introduce a new product. But the other part is I say on my business card, I'm unifying cultures with food. Because if you see some of the main ingredients in Mexican cuisine, for example, or Indian cuisine, we use a lot of cumin. So do they. So let's use some of these common ingredients and bring people to light, with things they may not have ever tried before. So those are my motivating factors for this style of cooking that I do.
Oh, nice. I like that fusion thing. So, when do you create like new dish like this? What is the thought process that goes behind it? What's the process that goes behind creating any new dish?
So I like to respect a lot of the favorite dishes that I've had in the past, right? So I have favorites all over the place. Okay. Like growing up, of course, as a vegetarian growing up, I didn't have that many veg options. My husband eats meat. I'm a vegetarian, but I cook everything. Okay. Just to give you some insight on that. But I loved Taco Bell when it came out, right? So what are my favorite things that I have in different places? So my first step is try to recreate it. Okay. So a lot of times I recreate dishes. I'll give you an example. Cheesecake Factory makes avocado egg rolls. Okay. I love them, but what makes them for me is the sauce. And there's a familiarity in that sauce that I couldn't quite pinpoint when I first had it. And then later, as I did the recreation, I realized there's tamarind in that sauce that they use. Now, being Indian, when you have a good samosa, right? What do you typically have a couple of chutneys and one of them has tamarind in it, right? So I like to kind of almost inspect my favorite dishes and realize my favorite components of those dishes. And then when I create a new dish, I use all of my favorite elements from the different places and try to put them together. And that's kind of how it comes. I loved paneer for many years. I loved paneer, and I love Mexican food, right? So for me, it was an easy transition to try to put those together. Now, when it comes to the sauce, I love cilantro, right? I love cumin in general, but I love cilantro leaves, right? Like I love, as an herb. So I wanted to kind of put that into it. And so my enchilada sauce has a little more of a cilantro flair than the typical. So it's kind of like that of mixing things together.
Nice. And what is your personal favorite dish that you created?
Uh, so this is a little difficult for me. Now,
I know all
I
of these, but
I love food so much that I've become very biased to things like when you make things at home, there's just a different feel from eating out. So I have a few dishes that are my go-to, and so what I will reference is my version of comfort food. Okay, so growing up, I love khichdi, right? So like that was my comfort food when I was young, like that. I love mushrooms. So there's a mushroom dish that I make it's actually vegan, but it's like masalad, and I do it with a goat cheese, and you can make it either into a sandwich, just eat it the way it is, or with rice or something like that. And I love that. It's like an amazing comfort food. And anything Indomex, I love Indomex. My Indomex is top. I think is my top seller because I made it so much. So I had so many more people try it because when I went to my friends' houses, every place I'd go, they'd say, "Oh, can you make this?" I actually have a close friend of mine. His name is Hemant, and so we actually nicknamed one of the rices H rice for Hemant because every time we'd go anywhere, he's like, "I want my H rice. I want my H rice," and so that's kind of, and it has a tofu base because I instead of using beef, I was adding tofu, so it was also open to more people, and I ended up making a vegan version of it because then I cover most bases with where I go. But yeah, I have so many of them, but I would say the entire genre of Indomex, and then second that would be the entire genre of Indo-Thai. I love Thai food. Green curry is such a weak spot for me, and I add extra basil in it and extra cilantro, and again, not necessarily how you see it out, but that fusion of flavors. I'm very weak for it. So
nice. That makes me think, do you ever go out in the restaurant to eat?
I do. Many times, it's because I'm tired, but also I like to experience just new foods, right? Like I love to see how other chefs cook. I love to see their creativity and their flair. And though I have some hesitation based off what I have told you already about, ingredients, I have faith that people have learned from their ways, and I hope that people improve what they're doing. But yes, there's certain things that I will go out for. I don't make dosas as well as I should. So I go out for dosas. My kids love dosa. And that's because also I feel making the whole, we used to make it growing up a lot, right? Like soaking everything. The length of time it takes when I feel like having a dosa, it's not going to, it takes too long. Say, I want a dosa now. I can't soak it and then have it tomorrow, So, and like paratha, for example, we have like different things that we want to eat, right? Like my husband and I have like different types of food that we want to eat. I love cheese. So like I want like a cheesy paratha and he wants like an aloo paratha. So we'll go out for parathas one day, Um, things like that. But yeah, I love experiencing new flavors. And my favorite thing to do is read menus. And it's probably like the weirdest thing to people, but I'm like, oh, can I see the menu? So my friends will tell me, oh, I checked out this new restaurant. I'm like, did you take a picture of the menu for me? Like, because and luckily you can find a lot of them online now. But back in the day, I'd say, can you take a picture for me of just the menu? They're like, do you want me to bring you something back? I'm like, no, just the menu, So
Yeah, that's funny. So, what is your favorite place to go? It,
I it's difficult to say. It's definitely difficult to say. I mean, I love falafels. I go not to any of like the high end places, but I go to a place called Jerusalem Pizza in Highland Park. I love their falafels. That's my go to there. It depends on what the item is, honestly, but like I am so old school with my thought that even for pizza, I still love my famous pizza. So everyone's like, oh, there's this great. I mean, if I go to New York, I love like all that, but it has like a comfort for me. So I still like all my old school places, like places that I've been going to since I was young. I always revert back to Taco Bell, which I know is the funniest thing, but when I had chemo, I did not crave anything, right? There was one particular chemo that I had that was so hard on me. Like I had blisters all inside my mouth that if I opened my mouth, they would rip open. So I couldn't chew, I couldn't do anything. And so they're like, you have to eat, you have to eat. You can't just, they were giving me milk and they put 6 packets of sugar in a tiny milk this big just to make me gain weight until and I was like, I don't want anything. They're like, your favorite food, we'll go out and get it. I'm like, Taco Bell. And so I have, again, it's like a old school thing for me where I'm like, it just had like that soft spot for me growing up. But those are my general go-tos. But yeah, I mean, there's a favorite item almost at every location that I have.
so, what is your source of inspiration to create like new dish?
I have a lot of inspirations, but I would say my mom is definitely one of the top of my inspiration lists. My brother as well. Uh, I I have to say my mom, when she came here, she was a vegetarian, right? She didn't eat eggs or anything. My dad had said to her, to fit in here, to go to like the doctor events, you have to start eating meat. Okay. So my mom had started eating meat for quite some time. And when I was about 14, I went to some Swaminarayan event. I don't really I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, right? I believe that there's good and evil around you, but I never picked one particular religion because I feel like they all have positive points. But I went to this event and I saw these pictures of like animal slaughtering and whatever. And my dad had raised me to eat meat when I was young. And so when I was 14, I left that and I was like, I don't want to eat meat anymore. And my mom's like, really? I'm like, yeah. And my dad's like, oh, you can't do that. You're never going to survive here. I'm like, I will.
Mhm.
I was like, if I can't eat out, I will figure it out myself.
Mhm.
And so my mom converted back to being a vegetarian. And I'm not strict like that. Like, and I make no judgment, and it's not based off religion at all. It's based off just a personal preference. And my husband eats meat. I let my kids pick at this age. When they get older, I will tell them how I feel and all of that. But that is when I started creating more vegetarian food in the house. So I decided, hey, and I'm very honest about this because and I'm sure I'll get plenty of judgment for this, but I didn't ever say I didn't like the taste of tandoori chicken or something, right? But I didn't want to eat it anymore, right? So I started making tandoori soy, like we used to have Nutella, whatever it's called. I used to grind it up and make these little like bhajia things. I was like 10, and I would like make tandoori masala and like I wanted to recreate these because I'm like how can I make this in a different way where we're not doing the part that makes me feel bad, right? So I say that they're my inspiration. And my brother, one day when I couldn't chew food, he decided to take butternut squash before he left for his residency in the morning. He put it in a pressure cooker, turned it on, let it, heat up, turned it off, and put the pressure cooker in a bag and brought it. Worked all day and then brought it to the hospital. And I was like, you have like butternut squash in the protein. He's like, well, I was looking it up and there's a lot of vitamins and nutrition, blah 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 blah. He put 1 clove of garlic in there, salt, and the butternut squash. And when he got to the hospital, he used a hand blender and he blended it up, and it was probably the best soup I had ever had. Okay, I was able to chew it, and this also inspired to think outside the box. Okay, so if you need the nutrients, and instead of turning to medicine, and I feel horrible saying this because I was in the medical field, my parents were doctors, my brother's a doctor, but don't turn to medicine for everything, right? There's different ways of getting nutrition that are outside of that. So I loved how he thought. I love like that thought process. And ever since then, this is the way to go for me, right? So after I had my son, I weighed 225 pounds. Okay. At my lowest point, I've gained a little weight back, but at my lowest point, I was 150. Okay. And in about 6 months or so, or 8 months, I had lost that weight. Okay. And now I'm about 160 because it got cold. I started hibernating in the winter, but I'll get back on it soon. But how did that happen? Right? All these people are taking injections. They're doing all these surgeries. Food is medicine. So what I did is I ate all my favorite food, but I look back at my inspiration for food, right? Look at my mom, look at my brother. And what did they teach me is I can still have all of the stuff that I need for my body, but in a different way, right? So I still eat pizza, but I make a cauliflower crust, for example. I still have all of my favorite cuisines, right? But I try to do a little low carb where I can. I use corn tortillas instead of flour. I try to get white flour out of most of my meals as best as possible. Don't get me wrong, I have cheat foods, but those little things really inspire who I am today and how I cook today. So if I have a client that says to me, "Oh, you know what, Sank, I really have high cholesterol. I need to figure out how to get that down." I'm like, "I got it. I'll help. Let's plan blood work in 3 months and let's see, how it does. Now we're going to plan meals for you. And in 3 months, go to the doctor and get your blood work done again." So now I try to increase their fiber, right? I try to hide more vegetables in there if they don't love vegetables. I try to do what I can to still make them love what they're eating, but increase that fiber, make it so it's, cleaning out all of their arteries essentially, and then make them at a better and healthier place, right? So that's kind of like my inspiration has stemmed from them, and then with their medical background and everything else, it's kind of brought me to where I am today.
Wow, nice. So do you have a nutritionist in your team, or you do it yourself?
I actually do it myself. I have started a couple courses several times, and then I got pregnant, and then I got pregnant again. So there's a couple different courses that I've done all the book work on. I just have to go and get certified now because it's something that I strongly feel for myself. I don't do well with medication because even pain medication, right? Like it hurts my tummy. It doesn't sit well. Even antibiotics, all of that stuff, it doesn't do well. But I feel like there's always an alternative, and I did the best that I could to research, and things change. So I'm constantly learning. And I feel like that's half of it, right? Is like constantly learning, right? I don't care what field you're in. I don't care if you want to go into medicine, become an architect. I don't care what you want to do. Never stop learning. Okay. Never stop learning. So if you want to start becoming a private chef yourself, don't ever become closed in the box. I have the best, and this is how it should. Don't ever say that. If you ask me if I think I can tell you, my social media manager will tell you all the time, I always get upset with them because they write things like the best this or the best. I'm like, no, don't say that. I don't ever want to think anything is the best because that means there's no room for improvement, and there's always room for improvement. Always better yourself. Always keep learning. Always know that there's a better method, a better technique, a better version. And so that is something that like I cannot say enough. But as soon as you close your mind, you will not get more clients because now when your mind is shut, your heart is shut.
Nice. Yeah. True. So tell us about your team members who are in your team.
I have really me. I have my husband who actually my husband's a Hawaii. He will make and so I'm biased when I say it when I call other people the best. He's the best jalebi person. But his jalebi is incredible. Um, he has been everything to me, and I always say that he is my world and my kids make our universe because he helps in every way. And so he is my partner in crime for everything, right? He helps me through the kitchen, he helps my setup, packaging. He is an amazing packer. We make sure that stuff gets to where it's supposed to be without breaking. We have little tacos that we make and we make sure everything is intact. Social media, I have a team in India who's headed by my cousin. I like to brag about this because I'm very, very proud of her. So that she has her own staff there. Um, I have to say, it's not necessarily my current team, but it's who I have worked with throughout these couple of years. After being with my ex-husband, I didn't like looking in the mirror. I still hesitate, but I couldn't do it at all. I took all the mirrors out of my bedroom. He had convinced me that I was ugly and I was fat and I was filled with scars and many things. So I actually had started going to Aura Dermatology and seeing someone named Sapna. I love her. I was getting laser done. And when I was getting laser done, I passed a mirror. I started crying. And I saw her in the other room and she's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I'm so sorry. I'm just having a meltdown right now." And she's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I've avoided looking at myself and I don't know how to get over it." And she was like, "No, you can't think like that, all this stuff." And she encouraged me to be on camera, which I never did for a long time. If you notice, my Instagram only recently starts with having a few of my own pictures or videos. You'll see pictures of me with my family or with my kids, but I never did videos because honestly, I'm too self-conscious. I actually went to do a photo shoot that's a 40 over 40. Okay. And the photographer, his name is Vikrant. He's based in Philly and he did interviews of people right before we did this. He wanted to see if we had a story to tell. And now he's like, "Oh, I'd love for you to do this," after he asked me some questions. And I'm like, "Okay, great." And then like a week later, I was like, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't take pictures of myself. I just can't. And he's like, "Let's do another call." He does another call and he gives me a homework assignment. He says, "I need you to spend 15 minutes every day in front of a mirror." And I was like, are you nuts? Like, I can't do that. I can't spend 30 seconds in front of a mirror. He's like, "Every day I need you to say nice things to yourself." This is very difficult for me to digest. So I made a list and I had maybe two things on it. At the time, I've had braces. So I said, "I like my teeth." And then I said something about like my eyes. Those are the two things that I wrote down. I have nothing else that I could say about myself. And so every day my homework assignment was to do this. So when I did this photo shoot, it wasn't just pictures of myself. It was like learning myself again. So I did this last year and that was like eye-opening for me, right? So now I say yes. So typically if had you asked me to do this 2 years ago, I would have said no to you because I'm too scared of looking at myself. But now I look at the bigger picture and one, we all have something that we can see positive about ourselves. So it's something that I know we have to work on. And women especially are so hard on ourselves. But I feel my team that brought me to where I am today includes the photographer, includes Sapna from Aura, includes my husband, it includes my social media team, includes all the people that have helped get me here today. And I can't thank them enough. And I will forever be grateful. And the other part of my team is who helped me get through all the cancer stuff. And I am grateful to them every single day because without them, the doctors did a great job, yes. But if it weren't for the nurses and the friends and my family, I wouldn't be here today because they saved me. So my team will always include all of them.
Nice. Well, so one off-track question. Do you believe in manifestation?
Okay, so I believe in energy. Okay. So I do believe what you put out into the world in terms of energy. In terms of manifestation, I feel like it really depends on the definition for me. The reason that I keep saying that I'm spiritual and I'm not religious is because I feel very much that it's energy that you have and you can give and take. So I feel like when you have positive energy, when you have all of that, I feel like it does kind of it comes off of you, and you can also feel that energy from other people and all of that. And I think that's the level that I am with that. In what sense would you say manifestation?
Like you said, you were scared of looking at mirror, but now look at you. You're in front of camera now. Like, did you ever manifested this kind of stuff or any other stuff?
I never, I don't think I was privy to that as much as maybe I should have been. I did a lot of meditation, and this is something that I did at a young age. And so that is why the energy part of me has kind of focused more. I have, and I'm very, very honest about this. I've steered clear of religion because I feel religion has done nothing but caused fighting and negativity in the world. And I'm a science person. So when I see on TV that people are fighting over a piece of land for religion, and I think an asteroid can come and destroy our whole planet, it's almost silly to me that we're fighting over a piece of land. One religion to me is never better than the other. So if someone believes in one thing or someone believes in the other, that doesn't matter to me, because at the end of the day, are you a good person? If you can't be a good person without hiding behind a book, then you're not a good person. If you need to go to church to take all of your sins away, but you sin all week, that does not define a good person to me. So I feel at the end of the day, energy and being a good person are the two things in my heart that have been put together to kind of show character, right? Like, do you hold the door open for other people, right? Like, these are small things that I'm always curious about, and that defines a lot to me. So if you can do those things and you put that out in the world, good will come back to you because of the positive energy that you've put back. It's almost like having like a full glass in your body, right? So you're giving energy back, but it should keep being a flow so it stays full, right? And this is one of the reasons that I say that I was able to leave my negative situation in the past, because my cup was empty. No one was refilling it. And then I realized I need to look in instead of looking out to get it refilled. So that was part of my getting things kind of back together and having a positive viewpoint, and every single day being grateful to what I have. So that's my take on like the whole energy thing. The manifestation thing is something that I haven't really focused on. Maybe I can, and I'm open to it, but it's just not something that I have thus far.
Right. You're already doing so much good things to people. You're feeding people. That's nothing can be better than that. But you also believe in giving back to the community, right? And
Yes.
so tell us more about what you do about that.
So there's different avenues that I do this. But there's a few that mean a lot to me. And one, as you know, is that the whole food part of it, giving back however you can. My husband is on the same path that I am. He works for a company called Replenish through Middlesex County. And what they do is they take donations, and these donations get split between different shelters and different organizations that are in need, right? So I work with them in different capacities on the food aspect of things. But then when it comes to clothes and toys and all that, we start creating these events. Now, I am very much against the big companies like Ross and all of those. I am not for them at all. If you look at how much the CEOs make and you see how much of each dollar actually goes to people, it's heartbreaking. They make hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars as the heads of the organization, and people get 5 to 10 cents on the dollar of based off what you've given, right? Most of those items are sold. So I thought, what is a way to get around that? So what we started doing is, me and a couple other people that I know, what we started doing is creating these events where the first half of the day is donation. So now anything you have, let's say you've got, you're going to do spring cleaning anyways, right? You're going to take all the stuff that you're about to throw in the garbage, or you're going to donate to these big companies, and you come and you drop it off. Then I have a bunch of volunteers there. I have some amazing friends and their kids, because I like to start them at a young age, come and help sort everything. So we sort everything by size, by like toys and all of that. And then the second half of the day is anyone in need can come and we give them pretend money, right? We give them an arbitrary amount, let's say $5, I'm sorry, $50, right? And each item is pretend $1 or whatever. And they get to pick 50 items just so everyone gets their own turn, right? And one person doesn't take everything. And they get to go shopping for anything they need for their own kids. So now they can go based off sizes and say, hey, my kids need this or I need that or whatever. And this was a way to for people to give, which also makes people feel good, and for people to get what they need, right? And I really would like to break stigmas, and that is very, very important to me. And I had mentioned to you guys about breaking stigmas for food, right? When you need help, everyone needs help. Okay, everyone needs help at one point or another in their life. But that also goes for clothing and the rest of it, right? Instead of judging or instead of having that mentality like, oh, I don't take help or I don't give to people, don't have that mentality, right? Because we've all been there to a different capacity. And think about that person being your sister, your daughter, your family member, right? How would you want them to feel? So what we had tried to create are these events, right? Where that it's open to anyone, right? It's not open to we don't need to see anything of yours. You don't need to tell me who you are, okay? We ask at the door. We ask for your first name only so we have a way to keep track that this person's inside. We give every person 15 to 20 minutes to do whatever shopping, so everyone gets an opportunity. Anything that's left over, we give to organizations that have like asylum seekers, or they have different shelters or any of that, to make sure that everything is utilized, right? We don't want anything to kind of go to waste. But any work that you do, I don't care what line of work that you have, I think giving back is half of it, right? Like if you can't set some of your heart aside to make sure that you're giving back, I feel like we're going to have very deprived lives. At the end of the day, regardless of what you believe, getting cremated, getting buried, whatever it is, you don't take your money with you. You don't take your house, your Bentley, your whatever it is with you, right? You will leave behind your legacy, and your legacy should include what you've done for other people, right? Like what you've done, what you've given, what you've created for other people. And I feel like that is something that gets lost. And that's something that I, again, was very lucky to learn at a young age. I feel that people lose focus of who they are. So that's why I say I start them young. I do these different events for kids too, where they can sort cans, help us, distribute to shelters and stuff, because I want at a young age for them to say, I've done this to help people, as opposed to what they say right now is give me this, give me that. I want the newest thing. I need a tablet or whatever. And I feel they'll appreciate their life a lot more. And so will you. Right. So
you have your private clients where they can eat the food that you prepare. But if somebody wants to eat something that your special dish they want to try, where do they go?
So right now I do have some enchiladas at a place called Frappe Joe in Edison. It's a coffee shop. They hold three different types. They have vegan, they have a paneer, and they have a chicken. Three different types of enchiladas there. I do have different events that I will host throughout the year, but most times, because I like to keep it very customized, it's really per order. We do weekly orders too. We can do larger events. I don't like to do the extraordinarily large events. I like to cap it at about 50, right, to keep it really more boutique. And other than that, it's really kind of reaching out to me, because again, I like to be involved. I don't like to just have like a random location. So I started working with Frappe Joe for years now, like right before COVID. But I wanted someone who he gets his coffee beans sent from India. Like he puts a lot of love into the things that he does, and the small businesses I feel like are the way to go. So that's why I try to keep things as boutique and local as possible.
Right. Right. So as a business owner, what are the options that you can build in, like as a private chef? Like you said, you're helping like local businesses, or you have private clients. Any other like you know if I ask directly, means of income?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a lot, especially as it gets warmer. There's a lot of different outdoor events. There's a lot of like different markets, like farmers markets, and uh, I'd say I'm not really sure what to call them, but they're like, let's say a spring market at like this in Metuchen, or Highland Park has like a weekly market that they have, right? All these different cities have different markets at different times, different places. Sometimes it's once a month, sometimes it's, every Saturday or every Friday or whatever. Edison has a few. There's different food truck events. There's all these different events that you can kind of sign up for. What you need to do is have insurance. Okay. So you have to just show them your insurance. Some of them will ask if you did your Safe Serve course, which we had discussed before. If you did that, you can show them your certificate. Typically, your insurance is enough. I've done different events with our county here. You can do them with whichever city that you're part of. We have like a Taste of Edison event here, so there's different avenues that you can use, but you, again, have to go back into the community, right? Like this is something that you'll hear me say over and over again. If you keep staying involved with the community, you'll see that there's so many more opportunities that come up, right? So as these opportunities come up, it's up to you which align with what you're looking for. If, again, you're just looking for the masses, you can say yes to every single event. I'm not, so I really try to specifically look for what's going to benefit me. Something else that I have done are pop-ups with different local businesses. You can do different women's events. There's an amazing women's expo in Expo Center every single year. I want to say it's October-ish, something like that. It's great. It's a massive event, right? And they're all women business owners. And same thing, you do have to buy a booth there. Some events you don't have to purchase it, some you do. This one you do have to buy a booth for. I believe it's about $500. I know that seems really steep, but their crowds are ginormous. So if you want to prepackaged stuff, or if you want to have trays of food that you're giving, and let's say each container that you give out is $5 or $10 or whatever it is that you determine, it can more than pay for itself, right? But look at it in two different ways. One, exposure. Okay. So you want to definitely get your exposure out there. It's not always going to be, hey, I made millions of dollars off this. If you love what you do, it's not about the money, right? So definitely keep your mind open as to what your advertising is. Okay. You can also have your own event that you want to sponsor, right? So if you want to have your own event, and let's say you are doing a food thing, you can pick a restaurant. Okay. And I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it's actually not. If you pick a restaurant that has a different cuisine, or it has that same cuisine, but you want to do one part of it, like I gave you the Momo's example before, right? You can say, hey, we're going to have this night where, we're going to showcase this. And so if you talk to the owner, it brings them clients, and that's how you have to show it to them, right? Like, I'm going to bring you business and you're going to sell all your other stuff. I'm just going to sell this item, right? And then both parties win, right? So every single place you go, just know that it's going to be a two-way street. You have to get something out of it, and whoever you're working with needs to get something out of it. So keeping that in mind, make sure that you align yourself properly with whatever it is that you'd like to do. And there are so many opportunities out there. And again, if you have any questions, or if you need more advice, you're always more than welcome to message me, email me, whatever the case may be.
Oh, thank you so much. And so nowadays there's a trend that put recipes on Insta, and people think, okay, this is overnight, I'll get like millions of followers out of that, and I'll get money from there. What is your take on that as a business owner, and following that as someone who is following the recipes too?
So this is a double-edged sword. Sorry. Now, most of the people that post recipes are not chefs. Okay. Most of the ones that post recipes, or if they are chefs, they're not actually cooking for other people, right? They create cookbooks or something like that, and they do the back end. The reason that I say this is, if you have a recipe, right, you want to prepare recipes that you want to share, just know that you also are divulging your secret, right? This is what's making you you. Do you want to do that? That's up to you. So if you only made momos and you gave all your momo recipes out, it helps a lot of people that are afar, but is that what you want for your local market? So you have to kind of keep that in mind. Now, will it make you an internet success overnight? Most likely not. Now, yes, you can create something that's very different, very unique, but how many followers do you already have? How is this actually going to impact? Let's say you have 1,000 followers, right? Okay, so 1,000 people saw it potentially, right? If they potentially at the maximum, 1,000 people, how many of them were actually paying attention? How many of them cook? How many of them, so you have to understand that there's a lot of different things that go to it. Unfortunately, the Instagram algorithm that changed isn't as beneficial to some of us, but if that's what you're trying to do is become an internet success, that is very different than having followed your passion. Because my passion is to cook. My passion is to feed your tummies, and I like happy tummies. And by doing that, yes, I can share some stuff, which I do, right? I do share some recipes and I give some insight on that, but that is not the only way. And that is not what my focus is going to be. So you'll see a lot of recipes and a lot of people recreating recipes who, one, they have a large number of followers already, but two, that is what they want to be, is solely an internet success. So you kind of, again, have to sit down, and we've talked about this already, is what are you looking for? What are your goals? Okay. So my goals are of course ever changing, but to increase my followers would be great, because what I want to do is teach. In the end, I want to teach, but I want to also be impactful to people. So this year, something that I told my social media team is I want to be impactful, especially so this year. I want to share my story, share my journey, my history, and see if that benefits anyone. Even if it benefits one person, in my heart, it's worth it. So know what your goals are, right? Like, until you establish what your own goals are, you're not really going to know what path to take. Do you need a team to do all of this? No, you can do it yourself. But again, it depends on how much you're balancing. I have 2 toddlers, so getting anything done is a little difficult. So I wasn't posting very much, and I know that this is going to be the road in the future. So I had to kind of figure out, am I going to dedicate more time to do it? Unfortunately, I can't. Between my parents who are older, my kids that are young, and what I'm doing, I didn't have the time, which is why time is value to me. One of those early lessons that I learned is that you don't get time back, right? So how do I make the most of my time? That is outsourcing. If you have the time and you don't, you're like, hey, I only have a limited number of amount of income, which I completely understand, as do I. What is more important, your time or this money that you're going to be spending? You need to balance that out. I can't make that decision for you. I personally knew when it came to certain parts of it, I will do all of my cutting. I will do all of my prep work, because that time for me was worth it. But doing all of my posting, unfortunately, I couldn't handle both. So I outsourced that part of it. So as soon as you figure out that balance, then you can create a strategy as to what's going to work. And then having that team helps me, because they're pros at this, right? They know what time to post. They know what to tag. They know how to do all of that. I didn't. So that whole learning curve is still there. If I can get to the point that I can learn all of it and somehow I can multitask it all, maybe I wouldn't have them, but I love what they do because it's outside of my thought process, right? So that is what I can say to you. Becoming an internet sensation is not something that came overnight for 99.9% of the people that you see out there.
Right. You're getting so many tips and advice from you already, but I'm talking to a chef, and if I don't ask for kitchen tip or tricks, that won't be fair. So any kitchen tips for our viewers?
So health benefits for the kitchen tips. There are many things that you'll see online right now, but like when you cut garlic, leave it out on the counter for 15 to 20 minutes, and it actually increases the nutrients that are coming out of it. All of those different things, those tips that you'll see, those are actually very, very valuable. Cold rice, that's a huge thing for me because I have a lot of clients that are diabetic. Take the rice, put it in the fridge, right? You don't have to let it sit and get cold on the counter. When it's after it's cooked, cover it, put it in the fridge, use the cold rice the next day, and it's 50% of the diabetic spike, like the sugar levels, right? So you want to keep the glucose level maintained. You won't have a spike in glucose when you consume it. So cold rice is huge, okay? So all the nutritional tips are, for me, they're really big when it comes to actually cutting. check out the cutting techniques. If you have a certain type of knife, you can, of course, Google it. Watch your fingers, keep your fingers tucked in. These are all things that are very important because trust me, you lose a lot of time when you end up having a boo-boo on your finger. All of the cleaning and all of the hygiene tips, I know it seems like a lot of effort, extra work, but I promise you it'll pay off. Just consider if you had one person that got sick because of something that you didn't wipe off, that can be a few $1 million lawsuit, all because you didn't want to take the 10 extra minutes to wipe this counter or the hour that it took to clean the entire kitchen or whatever amount of time it takes for you. So consider all those things. And those tips to me, I feel like are a lot more beneficial than just how to cut things, which is what you can Google online. Nutritionally, some people don't even know how they need the help. Always ask. Okay. So you may not know if someone, they may not volunteer their allergies or their food restrictions. I ask. My menu itself, part of my instructions on how to order from me, always list, and I always ask them, always list your allergies, any food restrictions. That's part of what I ask you for. Because if you didn't ask them, they can always turn around and say, you never told me that your product had, XYZ in it. You didn't tell me that you use sesame oil, right? So you just want to cover your bases whenever possible.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, I can go on and keep listening to you, but we have time restrictions. My last question is, what are your future plans?
My future plans are to do everything in my power to give back. That is my current and future plan, and to teach my kids the same. I would love to find new avenues to, teach more about this. Food waste is another huge point for me. It is something that I'm hoping to attach myself to one of the local universities in their culinary program and talk to students about. We have limited resources on our planet, right? So what we can do to reduce waste, I think, is very, very important. So this is something that I would like to have as my next focus, along with doing more senior service activities. I love helping seniors. It brings a smile to their face. So that is another on my to-do list for this year. So I have them. And if you'd like to check out any new locations that I'll be doing demos, I will be posting them. I have my next demo on March 14th. So, I have them regularly. I'll have them in April and May throughout the entire year, different senior centers throughout Middlesex County. So
nice, amazing. So good luck for your future plans. I'm sure you'll get there. And thank you so much for your time and all your tips and tricks. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Sure.